is joining me live from Singapore. Charles, good morning to you. First and foremost, can I get your reaction to what you've just heard from Richard Haas there? Is this a justified war?
Well, I think, at the end of the day, Iran and the proxies were the single biggest threat to stability and prosperity in the Middle East and a major national security threat ultimately to the West and to the United States. I'm not surprised the U.S. has gone in. I don't believe the narrative that Israel dragged us in. I think we went in to prevent ultimately Iran from becoming a nuclear military power.
The president is talking about a 4 to 5 week campaign now. How long will this war run in your view?
Yeah, look, I think what the president's doing now is walking back his 7-day time frame or expanding it to several weeks, just sort of set expectations just in case. But I think in terms of timeline, what I would say is the United States is about to escalate in a pretty major way militarily from here over the next 24 to 48 hours. And I think that the worst of the kinetic part of this war will be done in the next 3 to 4 days. And after that, you'll start to hear the U.S. president talk about off-ramps or winning or victory. And I think from there, we start to see movement towards trying to get to some kind of settlement or agreement. I think the markets are trading this absolutely correctly, the risk-off move in the short term here, but I would absolutely buy the dip. I would fade the oil rally as well. This is not going to be a protracted military campaign.
Charles, what gives you so much confidence to be able to say that? And what does the United States need to achieve here in order to declare mission accomplished? Because the criticism coming in was that the U.S. did not necessarily articulate a strategy or an end game.
Yeah, so just first, on your first question, the reason I have pretty high conviction this is not a long-term or even a medium-term war or kinetic conflict is that the United States is at war with Iran. There is only one outcome here, which is Iran will lose. Iran is up against two of the most powerful, sophisticated militaries in the world, United States and Israel. Iran will lose this war. So the question is, what does losing look like and how long does it take? Ultimately, for the United States and for President Trump, I think victory, to answer the second part of your question, is what that looks like is an acknowledgement that we have decimated or severely set back Iran's ballistic missile program. On overall articulation of strategy, I think that, again, the communications out of the White House and the administration has been a bit all over the place on this. The timing was probably a little rushed, but overall, the end objective is a much weaker Iran without a ballistic missile program, without nuclear weapons, and, as your previous guest mentioned, leadership change, most likely not regime change.
Charles, what do you make of the Iranian response so far? We've seen direct attacks on energy infrastructure across the Gulf, even civilian infrastructure in countries like the UAE, which has also been bearing the brunt of that Iranian retaliation. At the same time as well, Americans across the region also now being asked to leave because of what is a deteriorating security situation. How much of a challenge is Iran actually putting up here?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest surprise so far in this war in the last 5 days has been Iran hitting residential areas of Dubai, for example. That's been probably the biggest surprise. I think the reason that they're doing it and hitting oil facilities as well, although on a more limited basis, they're targeting oil infrastructure, I think is just to show that they are still somewhat powerful and to try to send a message. But ultimately, and I think as we're about to escalate militarily in the next 2 to 3 days, Iran could retaliate again even a bit more. But ultimately, what the government of Iran, the regime in Iran wants is self-preservation. They want to survive this. And I think they understand that the longer and the harder they hit their neighbors, they're only going to provoke an even more robust response, not only from the U.S. and Israel, but potentially Saudi and other countries. So I think that ultimately we're going to get through the worst in the next 2 or 3 days.